So I'm going into this video very blind in terms of what I'm going to react to. And this is usually a thing that I do yearly, at least as long as I've been on BookTube. So we're definitely just going to go ahead and dive in. Hi everyone, my name is Rose, also known as TA Summers. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a reaction to the Goodreads Choice Awards 2024. This is the final round. I did not do a video for the opening round because I knew there were going to be a lot of books that were eliminated from the first round. So I figured I'd catch up with trying to dive into who the final nominees are and actually vote for them in the video. I will very much admit that I have not read a lot of the Goodreads Choice Awards um, books that were selected, at least from what I saw the first round. I don't know who made it to the final round, so this collective video is going to be a live reaction of me um, reacting to who the nominees are and making my votes accordingly. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and begin and dive right in. Okay, hopefully this camera isn't too shaky because I'm filming this on my laptop and screen recording at the same time. So fingers crossed that this is an easy video to go through. There aren't as many categories available for the Goodreads Choice Awards as there or have been in the past, which probably makes this video a little bit quicker to go through, but I'm bummed because they got rid of a lot of my favorite categories. But the less I say about that, the better. We're just going to go ahead and go into this and get started. So let's click on vote in the final round. All right, so final round nominees. The first category is reader's favorite fiction. Okay, so we have Dolly Alderton, Good Material. I have never heard of that actually. Is it one that I want to put on my reading list? Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it might be something that I pick up and read, so I will add this to my reading list, even though I have not read it. And then there's Huang Bo Rum. Welcome to Dong Bookshop. Forgive me for my pronunciation if it's not exactly accurate. I wish like I knew. Oops, getting rid of that pop up. So let's see. This is one that I knew that I wanted to read, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that. I have not read that yet. There's also The Wedding People by Alison Espak. Let's see. I think I've heard of it, but I have not read it, so I'm just going to add it to my want to read list. We're just going to go through it. Blue Sisters, I've definitely heard of, and I've already added it to my reading list. I might actually read that um, like within the next couple of weeks if I can get my hands on it. But I've heard good things about it, so it's definitely on my to read list, and I definitely want to read it. Sally Rooney, obviously, I have heard of Sally Rooney. I have not gotten to that particular book yet, and it's already on my to read list. And then there's Ruby Thorpe, Margot's Got Money Troubles. That one I've never heard of, actually. Interesting. Let's see. Okay. And then there's I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie Sue. This is an office comedy. Like, so there's two comedies in general fiction here, especially particularly like with these respective two. So I might actually read that one, so I'll add it. But I have not heard of either one of these. I've at least heard of Sally Rooney. I've at least Coco Mellors I have definitely heard of. Leanne Moriarty, I have definitely heard of that. In terms of Here One Moment is not on my to read list, so I will add that now. Margot's Got Money Troubles didn't really grab me, but if I look at more reviews about it, then I'll probably like reevaluate and add it to my reading list if it's good. I've heard a lot of good things about Martyr, and it's already on my want to read list. And then I know of Ellen Hildebrand's Song. That is definitely, I was able to pick that up from my library to be able to read. So I do definitely want to read that within the next couple of weeks just to see how it is. It is the fourth in the Nantucket series, but I think it can be read as a standalone if I remember correctly. So what would I vote for among these? Considering I haven't read any of them, if I had to make a prediction, I would probably say in terms of who would win this, it would probably either be Sally Rooney Intermezzo, Martyr by Kaveh Akbar, based on what I've heard about it. Leanne Moriarty, it could be that, or Blue Sisters by Coco Malors. I think based on my interest in terms of this, I'm gonna go with Martyr. So I'm gonna go ahead and vote for that because I think it's like I want it to win. I think it's the less likely one to win out of the ones that I mentioned, but we'll see. Like I never know how these things will go, especially since I can't say that I've read any of these. It's unfortunate. I've really wanted to at least read some of the nominees, but unfortunately I had not had the opportunity to do so before the opening round kicked off for the Goodreads Choice Awards. So I'll give a vote to Martyr. That's probably one that I'm going to try to see if I can reserve for my library and also read because I've heard great things about it. So let's stick with that. Let's go to historical fiction next. All right, so the final round, readers' favorite historical fiction. Okay, if right off the bat, I'm going to vote for Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Seven Fails Salome, because this is the only one that I've at least partially read this year, and I've liked it so far, but I have not read it in full. So I'm going to go ahead and vote for that. So we can also look at some of the other nominees to be able to see what's here and whether they're on my to-read list or not. Let's see, there's The Frozen River by Ariel Lahan. That one is not one that I've heard of. And then I've definitely heard of Kristen Hanna's The Women. If I had to make a prediction, I would say like Kristen Hanna would definitely be up here. Sylvia Moreno Garcia would definitely be up here as well, from what I can tell. James by Percival Everett would definitely be up here too, and that's one that I want to read. So let me go ahead and add that to my list. The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. That's one that I wanted to read as well. So I'm going to add that. I've at least heard of it. Kate Quinn, The Briar Club. I've at least heard of it, but I don't know what it's about. And then, let's see, a couple of other ones. The Book Lover's Library, Madeline Martin. That one I have not heard of. See, Anita de Monte, Last by. That one I have not heard of, but it's Reese's book club pick. I definitely at least want to try it, so I'll add it to my reading list. Jodo Picoult, I am not surprised to see Jodo Picoult on here for historical fiction. I will add that as well. I am not surprised to see Husbands and Lovers by Beatrice Williams. Beatrice has been nominated before. I definitely recognize the author's name here, so I can definitely add that here just to be able to see. And I think I have Beatrice Williams' other books on my TBR, but I have not had the opportunity to get to them. But that is something that I do want to read. Is there anything else? I'll probably try to see if I can read The Frozen River as well. I'll look at more reviews on Kate Quinn. And I'll also look at more reviews on the Book Lovers Library just to be able to see. But I definitely feel good about voting for the Seventh Veil of Salome. I really like Sylvia Moreno Garcia's writing, and this one had a very interesting premise, and I hope that I can probably pick up this book within the next couple of weeks to be able to give a review on it before the final round closes, just to be able to talk about it a little bit more. But we're going through this quickly, so that we're not here all day, all night. At the time that I'm filming this is after work, and basically like I'm trying to like catch up with since the nominees were announced today. Today is Tuesday. I want to go ahead and do a video for it to be able to say, okay, let me make my picks, and then I can at least fit in some of the books that I voted for and want to read, or have other uh peers to be able to read based on what made it. So let's keep on going. Next category is mystery and thriller. Let's see. Final round. Some of these I have definitely heard of. Okay, I have no interest whatsoever in picking up the Lucy Foley book. I'm not surprised that it's nominated because of name recognition, but I've heard very, very mixed opinions about it. So I think I'm just going to avoid that for right now. Richard Osman is one that I definitely want to read, and it's the first of a series, We Solve Murders. So I'll add that. Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I have heard of Amy Tintera before. Let's see. What if you thought you murdered your best friend? Okay, I definitely want to read that. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I would definitely want to read that. The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I already have this on my list. This is probably one that I might vote for based on what I've heard about it, and that may be the one that I also read within the next couple of weeks. So we'll look at that, but let's keep on going to see what's um, nominated. I'm kind of surprised that there are two Frida McFadden books nominated for the same category. I really don't think that the same author should be nominated in the same category. That takes away from other people being able to be nominated. It doesn't make sense. Though I do want to actually read this book as well. I already have it on my to read list, so that is where it'll stay. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. What is this one about? Okay, so this looks like a historical mystery since it takes place in 1975. Oh, that is interesting. Okay, so I will put that on my reading list too. How to Solve Your Own Murder. I've heard good things about this one as well. Let me add that to my list. Says it's a fun mystery about a woman who spends her entire life trying to prevent her foretold murder, only to be proven right 60 years later when she is found dead in her sprawling country estate. Now it's up to her great niece to catch the killer. It's 1965. That is interesting. Yeah, in terms of mystery. And it's the first of a series. Okay. I don't know if that's the one that I'll be voting for, but we shall see. So there's also First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I haven't heard too much more about this one. I've seen it on the shelves, but I haven't heard, so I'm going to wait for reviews on that one. And then there's All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. Let's see. I will read more reviews on that one just to see if it's something that like I want to pick up. and then there's Home is Where the Bodies Are. So I've read one of Geneva Rose's books, but it is not the one that made the final round. So I did like the other book to a certain extent that I've read from Geneva Rose, which I believe is I am blanking on the title. I will put up for your reference the cover of the book, which will showcase the title. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was very compulsively readable, and I literally just finished reading that particular book. I think it may have actually made the opening round, but it didn't make it into the final round. If I'm wrong, then I'll put an addendum on this video in terms of things to let y'all know. But this particular book, it, I think it did well for establishing like kind of like a shady background in terms of this woman who goes into a small town on vacation and ends up at an Airbnb with a guy that she gets on with, but all the people in the small town are very, very suspicious, and essentially you have to put the pieces together along with the heroine of the novel to be able to figure out what on earth is going on. And it's a dual perspective novel where you follow the woman who is taking the trip and also the Airbnb owner, their respective romantic chemistry, and essentially like in terms of how their dynamic works, and the march up to the twisty conclusion. Since the twist happens about 90% in, that was one of the things that bothered me. It wasn't so much that the twist itself bothered me in itself, but it came so late in the novel that it dropped the ball in terms of developing that to a point where it made sense. So that's the reason why I rated this respective book 2.5 out of 5 stars. Um, I at least for Home is Where the Bodies Are, You Shouldn't Have Come Here. That is the name of the book. Okay, so yeah, I read You Shouldn't Have Come Here, but I have not read Home is Where the Bodies Are. So I'm going to put this at least to see if I can give Geneva Rose another try and see if this one hits me better. I may read that within the next couple of weeks. Is it the one that I'm going to vote for? I can't say that based on what I read of the first and only book that I've read by Geneva Rose so far. So I'm not going to vote for that one. I think my vote is probably going to go for the Teacher by Frida McFadden, and I'll probably read that within the next couple of weeks as well. So let's do that and keep it moving. Go ahead and keep it moving. I think I went through all of these, so let's go ahead and continue to the next category, which is romance. I think I'm going to be probably massively disappointed in romance because I think the people that I think that I really wanted to win this category probably did not make it, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Let's see. Let us see. All right. So the final round nominees for readers' favorite romance. Abby Jimenez, I am not surprised to see on here. Familiar name. I have not read Just for the Summer. Play Along by Liz Tomfort. I am very surprised. I don't even know. I have no intention of reading Liz Tomfort, so I'm leaving that alone. I'm leaving that alone. That, and the less I say about it, the better. Let's see, The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. That seems like a cozy romance based on the cover. Um, yeah, it's by the same author of The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Okay, but yeah, it's also spicy from what they say, but it's got mixed reviews. It only has a 3.77 average rating. I think I'm going to hold off on reading that one until I read. Oh, not sure why that did that. Back, please. And of course it rearranged. But let's keep going. Let's see, Anna Huang, King of Sloth. I have not read any of Anna Huang's books. It's the fourth book in the series, so I'm definitely not voting for that one. I haven't even read the first one in that respective series. Emily Henry, I don't think I've heard good things about Funny Story, but I have not read it. I have not read it yet. Let me add it to my want to read list. I do want to eventually read it, but uh, for reasons I'm choosing not to read it at this time or even review it in terms of things because boy, it's part of the boycott thing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and skip that. Wild Love by Elsie Silver. That one I have not really heard of. It is the first of a series. Uh, yeah, I think I'll look and check out more reviews for it before I add it to my TBR. The summer will be different. I am not surprised to see that here. Put this on my want to read list. I am very surprised Christina Lauren is on here because I have not heard of anyone talking about Christina Lauren in quite some time. But that is a popular romance author duo. I've had a uh, mixed reactions to Christina Lauren's work. I don't know if I'm interested enough to add this to my TBR in terms of things. I'll look at reviews on it, and then if I do decide later on to add it, then I'll try it. Leather and Luck, I have not heard of that. Bren Weaver. And it's the second in the series, so I'm gonna skip that one too. Allie Hazelwood, I am not surprised that Bride is on here. So the two books that I wanted to be on here are not on here. And they're the ones that I actually did read this year, and both are black authors. So basically, the black authors got knocked off of the initial round, which I'm bummed about because I really enjoyed Tia Williams' offering as well as Kennedy Ryan's offering this year. It breaks my heart a bit to see that those titles didn't get recognized the way they should have been recognized, especially with how popular they are. So this is going to be hard in terms of who I would vote for, like just based on gut feel. um, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel confident enough to be able to vote for anything from Allie Hazelwood because I like what little I've read of Allie Hazelwood was not my cup of tea. Liz Tomfore, I'd say no. Christina Lauren, I would say no. I like Emily Henry's writing, but her books tend to be hit and miss with me. Abby Jimenez, I'm at least familiar with in terms of writing style. I don't feel confident enough to be able to vote for that either. I will probably add this to my reading list anyway. I'm going to go with my gut and probably vote for This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. Based on what I know my tastes to be, as well as having read at least one of Carly Fortune's books, which I still need to review. Um, I think I'm okay with this respective choice, but it's not the choice that I would have made for favorite romance at all. I would have probably gone either with Kennedy Ryan or Tia Williams, but they were both knocked out of this round, so I'm really bummed about that. I feel like the range of romance authors is just not great. Traditionally, it's not been great for Goodreads, but especially this year, it's not great. I'll just say it like that and leave it. Let's move on to Romantasy. I really have no horse in the race for Romantasy since it is a fairly new category and it was added, I think, either last year or 2 years ago. So it's a relatively new category for the Goodreads Choice Awards. So let's take a look and see. I am definitely not voting for Zodiac Academy. Absolutely not. and I am not voting for Sarah J. Maas because it's probably going to be Sarah J. Maas who wins, but I'm not really interested in reading that series. There's also Jennifer L. Armentrout. Oh, I'm not surprised to see that here, but that is the fourth book in the series, which really, I don't feel invested enough to be able to read up to this one to be able to vote for it. There are also other ones here. Let's see. I've at least heard of Scarlet St. Clair. That is also a fourth book in the series, so I'm not gonna do anything with that. Okay, so we've got a first book in this. This is by Sarah A. Parker. Magic Dragons, Romance, Fantasy Phenomenon of the Year. Let's see. It seems interesting. I would probably read this, but I'm not familiar with the author at all, so I'll put it on my reading list. And it's got a fairly decent average rating, but I don't know in terms of judgment, and because I'm not familiar with the author. See, Callie Hart, Quicksilver, Fae, and Alchemy. Let's take a look at this. I would probably read Quicksilver, but I'm not 100% sure. It's got a very high rating, but I don't, like I said, I don't know much about the author, so I can't make that judgment for it. And of course, it rearranges after I accidentally clicked on it. I am going to add it to my list, though. Fate, Inked in Blood. I am familiar with Daniel L. Jensen at least, but I have not read this respective series. It's a Norse-inspired fantasy. I'll at least put it on my reading list because I've heard mixed opinions about it though. Let's see, Phantasma. That one is not one that I've heard of. Caraval meets Throw of the Falling. I will read reviews about that before I put that on my reading list by Kaylee Smith. Probably the one that I am going to vote for is one of my favorite authors, Sarah Beth Durst, The Spell Shop. I have heard great things about it. That is one that I'm planning to read within the next couple of weeks, so I feel pretty confident about voting for this one. So I'm rooting for Sarah Beth Durst. Sarah Beth Durst is great, so I'll as soon as I can actually read it and get my thoughts about it, I will definitely put post that up on the channel. But yeah, I think this was a very easy category for me to vote in because at least I knew several of the authors here, but there's one that really stands out to me. I'm definitely voting and reading that one. Princess to the Villain is by Hannah Nicole Maurer. I have heard mixed opinions about the first book in that respective series, and I have not read it, so I can't vote for that one, and I don't really want to add it to my TBR unless I am interested in reading the first one, which I'm still on the fence about. But yeah, I think this one was really easy for me to vote in. Let's go on to the next one, which is fantasy. Let's see, next category. Okay. Lee Bardugo, I'm familiar with. TJ Klune, I'm familiar with, but I'm not interested in that. Jay Kristoff, I'm familiar with, not interested in that at all. Yangzi Shu, I have not read The Fox Wife. Let's see. That might be one I want to read, so I will add that. Let's see, this one is The Tainted Cup, Shadow of the Leviathan by Robert Jackson Bennett. That sounds interesting from what I can tell. Yeah, I definitely would want to put that on my reading list, so I'm going to add it to my reading list. There we go. The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. This is a debut. Contemporary fantasy readers of the Midnight Library, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, The Night Circus, and any modern story that mixes the wonder of the unknown with just a tinge of tartness. That sounds like it might be up my alley as well, so I think I'm going to add that to my reading list also. Let's put this as want to read as well. Five Broken Blades is one that has been in my head to pick up, so I'm going to put that on my want to read list also. That's the first in the series by Mike Corland. The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. Meg Schaefer is also Tiffany Rice, if I remember correctly. So that's a pen name for Tiffany Rice in terms of fantasy. And I know that she's the author of The Wishing Game, which was also very popular. I do want to put that on my reading list at least. Let's see. Deborah Harkness, who is the author of the All Soul series. That is on my list, but it's the fifth book in the series, so I'm probably not going to vote for that one. Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. That is the second book in the Emily Wilde series. I've heard of it, but I have not read it, and I have not read the first book in that respective series, so I can't speak to it. So who would I vote for here? I am not voting for Lee Bardugo. I am not voting for TJ Klune. I am not voting for Jay Kristoff. I know that for a fact. So I think I know the authors' names, but it's just like I'm not interested in either one of those books, respectively. No offense. If I had to vote for something based on my interest in things, I would probably go with the Book of Doors. So I think I'll vote for that. But to be honest with you, I don't know who will win this category. It may be E. Bardugo just on the factor of name alone. But yeah, I'm not interested in that particular book. And I'm not interested in reading TJ Klune's book based on how he's appropriated some native stories. It's just no, I'm not interested in that, and I'm not interested in Jake Kristoff's work either. But yeah, I think I feel good about at least voting for the Book of Doors because that's something that I would be interested in reading, and I do plan on at least picking that up within the next couple of weeks. So I'm gonna keep my vote with that. But if I had to do a prediction, it probably will be either Lee Bardugo or TJ Klune, which bums me out because I feel like more people need a chance to be able to win this category. I don't remember who made the initial round. So it may be that a lot of authors that are in fantasy that had releases this year were snubbed. I have the feeling there were probably several authors that were probably snubbed for this category. It's just, yeah, but I can't speak to it because I haven't read any of these. But I do plan on at least trying to see if I can pick up a couple of books within the next couple of weeks to at least be able to see a sample of the final round. So, but I'll keep it at the Book of Doors because that does sound interesting. Let's go to the next category, which is science fiction. Okay. So, The Other Valley by Scott Alexander Howard. That's a speculative fiction novel. I do want to read that one. The Stardust Grail by Yumi Kitase. I've definitely heard of that. That's probably the one I'm probably going to vote for out of all of these. Orbital by Samantha Harvey. That was one that was also on my list. And I've heard things about it, but I have not read it yet. It looks like it's had mixed opinions, though. I'm still probably going to try to see if I can read that, though. Douglas Preston, Extinction. Let me look at reviews on that one before I add it to my TBR. I'm not 100% sure because I have not read that author before. Mercy of Gods by James S.A. Corey. I've heard mixed opinions about, but I still want to read that book. And that might be the one that I actually do pick up. Do I vote for it between Yumi Kitase? I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure. See, The Family Experiment by John Mars, I've at least heard of as well, and that has already been added to my TBR. That one sounds interesting as well. There's I Cheerfully Refuse by Leaf Anger. This one I have not heard of. I will add it to my TBR because the blurb makes it sound interesting, at the very least. And then there's The Ministry of Time by Colleen Bradley. Time travel, romance, spy thriller, workplace comedy, and ingenious exploration of the nature of power and potential for love to change an art. That's a lot going on. I've never heard of that one actually. Let me read reviews about that one before I add that to my TBR. I am not 100% sure if I want to pick that up. I'd rather hear other people talk about it first. Antibot, I've at least heard of, and I do want to read that one. That one's already on my TBR. And Moon of the Turning Leaves, I have definitely heard of, and that is the second of the series. I'm probably not going to vote for that one because I have not read the first book in that series, which is called Moon of the Crusted Snow. So I'm gonna go with my gut, and I'm gonna do Stardust Grail. But if I had to guess in terms of who is likely to win this respective category, it's probably going to be James S.A. Corey. That's my prediction. I don't know, or it could be John Mars. I am not 100% sure. Between the three, in terms of the Stardust Grail, The Mercy of the Gods, and The Family Experiment, I would probably like say it's one of those three. I could be wrong. We shall see. I'll probably try to see if I can pick up the Stardust Grail as well as the Mercy of the Gods. And then if I do have time, I may pick up the Family Experiment as well. My reading pace has been slow this year, though. At least I've heard of several of these titles before and wanted to read them. Let's move on to the next category, to horror. Horror, it seems like they got right from what I saw of the initial round of picks, but I don't know who made it into the final round. We'll see as I click on here. I'm trying to go through these as quickly as possible. Okay, so I recognize several of these. So let's see. Incidents Around the House by Josh Mallerman. I wanted to read that. That one has mixed opinions about it. Um, Murder Murder Road by Simone St. James. Simone St. James. I'm kind of surprised Simone St. James made horror and not mystery. At least for this one. But I've heard of it at least. I Was This Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. That's probably going to be the one that I vote for because I do like Stephen Graham Jones's writing. Sleep Tight by J.H. Marquardt. Sole survivor of serial killer might hold the key to stopping a new spree of murders. I definitely want to read that. and I've heard of it, but it looks like it has, based on its average rating of 3.69, it has had mixed opinions, but I still want to read it because it did sound interesting. Stephen King, you like it darker. I want someone else other than Stephen King to win this category. It may be that he wins it, but I'm not 100% sure. Chuck Tingle, Bury Your Gaze. I've heard good things about. I think I might have a advanced ARC copy of Bury Your Gaze, and I might actually pick that up to read as well. It's on my TBR. What Feast at Night? T. Kingfisher is very, very good. I have not read What Moves the Dead yet. I've read it partially, but I have not read the full thing. So I can't vote for that one. I at least recognize the title and I know why it was nominated. But so, and then there's We Used to Live Here by Marcus Clower. Get Out meets Parasite in this eerily haunting debut and Reddit hit, soon to be a Netflix original movie starring Blake Lively. I did not know that. I have it on my TBR. I did not realize it was being adapted into a Netflix movie. See, The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. I think I had that on my TBR. Yes, yes. Interesting. And then Diavala by Jennifer Marie Thorne. Sly Wickedly Funny Vacation Gothic. Wow, that's quite a mix. That one I might want to check out reviews for before I add it to my TBR. That one I have not heard of. So out of these, I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to do I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I think Stephen Graham Jones had 2 releases this year that were nominated, and one of them made it, which was I Was a Teenage Slasher. His other one did not make it. So I'm going to do this one, go with my gut. I definitely want to pick that up and read. So I feel good about voting for that one based on this. Predictions in terms of things, it could be I feel like any of these could win. I just want it to be somebody else other than Stephen King. Fingers crossed. We'll see. I could be completely wrong. I could be completely off. I would like to see someone else win this category, but we'll see. Let's go to debut novel next. Okay, I recognize some of these. And some of these have already been uh featured in other categories. Let's see, How to End a Love Story by Yulin Huang. I'm going to look at reviews of that one before I add it to my TBR, but it is a Reese's book club pick. And then Welcome to the Hamdong Bookshop. And then there's Voyage of the I definitely have a copy of Voyage of the Damned, and I definitely want to be able to read that as well by Frances White. I don't know if that's going to be the one that I vote for. It depends. Let me hold off on that because I do know what that's about. I've heard of it and I've at least read excerpts from it, and I liked what I've read of it so far, but I don't know if I'm going to vote for that one. Ministry of Time, I don't. Yeah, that was nominated before. Martyr was nominated before in another category. Greta and Valden by Rebecca K. Riley. This seems interesting, so I would definitely add that to my reading list. That's not what I wanted to do. It's probably going to rearrange it once I go back to it. Yeah, it did. Let's put it on my want to read list, though. Book of Doors. I just voted for that in another category, so I'm not going to vote for that one here. The Eyes Are the Best Part, Martyr. The Truth According to Ember. Okay. So probably my gut is going between Voyage of the Dam and The Truth of According to Ember because I have a copy of Danica and Ava's novel. I was highly anticipating this one. I own it. I definitely want to read it. I would probably say, based on my gut, I'm going to probably go with The Truth of According to Ember. Though I would be rooting for Danica Nava or Frances White to win based on what I know about them, what I've read of them so far. I have not finished either one of these books, but I do want to. And I'll probably try to see if I can at least pick up The Truth According to Ember and Voyage of the Dam within the next couple of weeks to be able to review them. But I don't know if I'll be able to upload them in time before the end of the Goodreads Choice Awards, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know who will win this one. It could be any of these. It could be any of these. But I'm gonna hope it's Danica Nava. Let's go to the next category, which is, let's see, reader's favorite audiobook. So this is new. I do not have a horse in this race because honestly, I have not listened to any of these, and I'm kind of surprised that George Orwell's 1984 is nominated here. I'm guessing it's because it's a new recording of that, a new reading for audiobook, but it doesn't really seem like it's fair because it's not really a new release. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer, that was nominated for romance. Kristen Hanna the Women, that was nominated for historical fiction. James was nominated for Small and the Mighty, I have not heard of, by Sharon McMahon. 12 Unsung Americans Who Changed the Course of History from the founding to the Civil Rights Movement. I will at least put that on my reading list. First Lie Wins was mystery. Somewhere Beyond the Sea, TJ Klune, that was fantasy. Emily Henry, Funny Story, that was nominated already on under romance. Richard Osman was already nominated. Listen for the Lie by Ethan Terra, that was already nominated. So it feels like uh it feels like it's a little unfair that audiobook is a category because like a lot of these are like because it really just doesn't feel like a category. If I'm going with my gut, I'll probably vote for James by Percival Everett. Let's go with that. Dominic Hoffman is the narrator. I definitely want to pick that up. I think I have enough audiobook credits to be able to pick that one up, so I will definitely read that one at least. I'm not 100% sure if I'll read any of these other ones before the end of the Goodreads Choice Awards final round, or before the winners are announced. So let's move on to young adult fantasy for the next category. Okay, so one thing that I'm already seeing here, let's see, Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I haven't heard much about this one. This is part of the Powerless series. I have not read Powerless, so I can't vote for that one. Holly Black's The Prisoner's Throne. I've not read The Stolen Heir, so I can't vote for that one. Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. That is one that has been on my TBR. I've at least heard of that. I don't know if I'm going to vote for that one yet. Wisteria by Adeline Grace. That is part of the Belladonna series. I have not read Belladonna, so I can't vote for that one either. Then there's All This Twisted Glory by Tara Mafi. That is part of the Woven Kingdom series. I have not read this Woven Kingdom, so I can't vote for that one. Isabella Banez, Where the Library Hides, that's the sequel to What the River Knows. I can't vote for that one because I have not read the first book. Air by Saba Tahir is the first book in the series, and that's probably the one I might go for because I do love Saba Tahir's writing, and I've heard good things about Air, and it has come highly, highly recommended to me, so I'm definitely going to try that one. Heartless Hunter by Kristen Sorelli. That is the first book in the Crimson Moss series. That's also come very highly recommended to me. And I'm definitely going to pick that book up. See, Brendan Sanderson's Defiant, which is part of the Skyward series. That is the fourth book. I'm probably not going to vote for that one. And then Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross is the sequel to Divine Rivals, which I'm not going to talk about because that's part of the boycott. So if I'm going, and one thing that like I wanted to note that was a bit of a controversy because it's a popular YA title, but I would not consider it to be YA. I would consider it to be new adult, but I don't consider it to be, was it Mortal Vows, which was very popular. I'm glad it did not make the Goodreads Choice Awards for young adult fantasy because it really isn't young adult. It really isn't young adult. It really it's if it has a young adult protagonist. I believe the protagonist of that novel is 18, but it really like the feel of it is just not young adult. So I'm glad that it was nominated in the opening round, but it did not make it to the final round. So I'm kind of at least relieved about that because it felt like it was miscategorized, even though it was sorry, it's not Immortal Vows, it's Immortal Dark. I'll put the cover up for your reference here. I knew I had the books cover in my head, but I figured I'd had the title wrong. But I'm glad that didn't make this one. So in terms of who I would vote for, let's go with Air by Sabata here. I feel pretty confident about that one. Let's move on to young adult fiction. I don't think I've read any of the young adult fiction things, but we'll see. Okay, A Thousand Broken Pieces by Tilly Cole. I have not read. I've heard that's very popular on TikTok. I'm not planning on reading that. Lynn Pater's Betting on You. I can at least put that on my want to read list because I am interested in being able to read that based on the blurb. Why are there two Lynn Painter nominees? Yeah, I really don't think that uh, an author should be able to have two nominations in the same category. That doesn't make sense to me. Though I do plan on probably reading this one too. And this is the sequel to Better Than the Movies. I have not read the first one. At least Betting on You seems like it's standalone. So I'll probably read that. Jennifer Lynn Barnes, The Grandest Game. That's part of the a new series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I don't, and I think it may be a semi link to the Inheritance games. If I remember correctly, I'm not really interested in that series, so I'm probably not going to pick that one up. If I do pick up the Grandest Game, it'll probably be after if I do consider reading the Inheritance games, but I'm not really interested in that one. Let's see. Where Sleeping Girls Lie, this is probably the one that I'm going to vote for because I've at least started reading this one, but I have not finished it, and I like it a lot so far. I like it a lot so far. The Reappearance of Rachel Price, that is on my TBR, but I have not read it. It's by the same author, Holly Jackson, who wrote A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. If only I had told her. Okay, so I've read If He Had Been With Me years ago. And I really liked that novel at the time, but I don't know about the sequel enough to be able to feel confident about voting for it. But it is on my TBR, and it may be one that I pick up within the next couple of weeks if I have the opportunity to do so. But that is one that I'm interested in reading. Alice Osman's Heartstopper, that really shouldn't be in YA, that really should be in graphic novels. Um, because they got rid of the comics and graphic novels category, it kind of feels like it's shoehorned in here, and that kind of sucks. And it's also the fifth book in the series, so it really doesn't feel like it's fair. Will I read it? Yeah, I probably will. I'll go ahead and add it, but like I have not reviewed Heartstopper on Goodreads yet. It may be that I read it later, but yeah. That's Not My Name, I definitely have, and I definitely plan on reading that. So, like, I remember picking this up as a Barnes and Noble pick, and I had said that I was interested in this one based on the blurb, and I definitely want to read that. If I'm choosing between that like two votes, it'll probably be either That's Not My Name and Where Sleeping Girls Lie. It's probably going to be Where Sleeping Girls Lie because I've actually picked that up and I like it. When and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. Heartstopper Meets A Knight's Tale. Romcom YA debut about love. I am interested in reading that, so I will add that to my list. So if I'm going to vote, it'll be Where Sleeping Girls Lie. Let's do that one. And I feel confident about that one. Really nothing else to say about this category, so let's move on to the next category, which is nonfiction. I'm just speeding through here as much as I can. Okay. So I think if The Message made it, then I will probably vote for The Message because I think that's like that was one of my favorite reads this year, and I've read it. I have not posted a review on the channel of it yet. I'm still editing my October reads, which is a very long video, but it contains my review of The Message, and I talk at length about how much I like that book. As much of an emotional read for it was for me, but I really liked it and appreciated it. But we'll see. Let's see what else was nominated for the final round. Okay, so The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. How the Great Rewiring of Childhood Caused an Epidemic of Mental Illness. I'm at least interested in reading that, so I'll add it. The Untold Story of the Rise and Fall of Disney Channel's Tween Empire, Disney High, Ashley Spencer. I'm at least interested in reading that, and I've already added it. The Backyard Bird Chronicles by Amy Tan. Interesting. I'll at least put that on my TBR because I know about, I've read the author before, many times before. Nuclear War, A Scenario by Annie Jacobson. I will probably read reviews of that before I add it to my TBR, but I don't know much about it. Alright, so The Message, Ta-Nehisi Coates, one of my favorites. As you can see here, I rated it 5 stars. Uh, hands down, it was one of my favorite reads of this year for nonfiction, so I at least have read that, and I definitely will vote for that one. It's Not Hysteria, Everything You Need to Know About Your Reproductive Health by Karen Tang. I will definitely add that to my TBR. Seems interesting. Want by Gillian Anderson. Let's see. Interesting. I will probably put that on my TBR just because it's Gillian Anderson, just because I'm curious. But that's interesting. Kate Kennedy, One in a Millennial. What is this about? On friendship, feelings, fangirls, and fitting in. I will read reviews on that one before I add it to my TBR. I'm not 100% sure about this one. Okay. John Grisham, Framed, and Jim McCloskey. Astonishing True Stories of Wrongful Convictions. John, okay, and then All in Her Head by Elizabeth Coleman. The Truth and Lies Early Medicine Taught Us About Women's Bodies and Why It Matters Today. That is on my TBR to read. So, overall, I am voting for The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And I feel confident about that one. I hope it wins. I don't know. I can't make a prediction of who will win this category, but I hope it's The Message. It would definitely deserve it. Um, Based on the quality of Ta-Nehisi's writing and everything he had to say in that book about the importance of uplifting those who don't get the chance to be able to tell their stories, and highlighting the stories that we choose to tell ourselves. And it really had a massive impact on me in terms of what I read this year. So I feel confident about that. Let's move on to memoir. Next category. This one I'm not 100% sure who I will vote for. So we have Liz Cheney's Oath and Honor, a memoir and warning. There's Kelly Bishop, the third Gilmore Girl, I have that on my TBR as well. RuPaul, The House of Hidden Meanings, I have that on my TBR as well. Let's see, From Here to the Great Unknown, I think I have this on my TBR as well. Yes, and I knew I wanted to read that, by Lisa Marie Presley and Riley Coe. Sociopath, the memoir. I've heard of this one, but I don't know too much about it. I will probably read reviews before I add it to my TBR. Loud, Accept Nothing Less Than the Life You Deserve. I've heard things about it, but I don't know much about the author. I will probably read reviews before I pick that one up. A Well-Trained Life by Tia Levings. That one I put on my TBR. This is my escape from Christian patriarchy. There's Ina Garten, Be Ready When the Luck Happens. I will probably read reviews about that before I add that to my TBR. There's Knife by Salman Rushdie, After an Attempted Murder. I've heard of, at least of that. And then Whoopi Goldberg, Bits and Pieces, My Mother, Brother, and Me. I have that on my TBR already. So out of these, I honestly have no idea who to vote for or who will win this one. I'm going to go with my gut based on what I'm interested in probably reading about in terms of things. I will probably say Whoopi Goldberg, but I don't know who's going to win this one. But we shall see. I can't even make a prediction in terms of things because I haven't read any of these. Yeah. But I am interested in reading several of the books that are here. Let's move on to history and biography. This may be the last category on the list. And then if it is, then we can go ahead and start wrapping this up. Yeah, I think this is the last category. So we have Sharon McMahon, The Small and Mighty. I think that was nominated for Best Audiobook. 12 Unsung Americans Who Changed the Course of History from the Founding of the... I will at least put that on my want to read list. Then there's Yuval Noah Harari, Nexus. A Brief History of Information Networks from the Stone Age to AI. I will probably read reviews before I add that. Eric Larson is a big name. It's possible that Eric Larson might win this one. This is The Demon of Unrest, a saga of hubris, heartbreak, and heroism at the dawn of the Civil War. American Scary, by Jeremy Dauber, A History of Horror from Salem to Stephen King and Beyond. I have that on my TBR because that sounded interesting to me. The Elements of Marie Curie, How the Glow of Radium Lit a Path for Women in Science. That's one that I'm interested in and I've added to my TBR. I have heard of it. Ask Not, The Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed by Maureen Callahan. I definitely want to read that because I'm curious. The Bookshop, A History of the American Bookstore. I have that on my TBR because that definitely intrigued me. Let's see. Douglas Preston, The Lost Tomb, and Other Real Life Stories of Bones, Burials, and Murder by Douglas Preston. Challenger by Adam Higginbotham. A True Story of Heroism and Disaster on the Edge of Space. I might actually vote for that one. And that's one on my TBR already. And then there's Women in the Valley of Kings, The Untold Story of Women Egyptologists in the Gilded Age. I will probably read reviews of that before I put it on my TBR, if I put it on my TBR. So, based on these, it's probably going to end up going to Eric Larson just for name recognition. And what I've heard in rumblings, in terms of people who have read from Eric Larson before, but I am going to go for Challenger. Alrighty. I think that is it. Like I said, this really didn't take as long in terms of voting and talking about them because one, I have not read a lot of these books, and two, they eliminate a lot of categories, including categories that I really wanted to talk about, including middle grade comics. They've even eliminated humor out of the Goodreads Choice Awards as well. So yeah, they took out a lot. They took out a lot compared to the previous years. So I'm hoping to be able to at least pick up several of these books before the final winners are chosen. I don't know how this is going to go. Let me know your thoughts in terms of what you chose to vote for the Goodreads Choice Awards and what books you've been able to pick up. As always, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to be informed of when I post new videos. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next video. Bye.